Hello and welcome to this video tutorial on how to use input and output in repl.it. Now, if we have a quick look at the repl.it user interface, I've opened up a brand new Python file here, and I'm going to demonstrate that through Python today. On a very simple level, Python works by outputting with a print statement like this. The print statement has brackets, and in those brackets is an argument. That argument really talks to us about what's going to come out of the computer screen. And normally that happens to be in single quotes or double quotes. It doesn't matter which one, as long as you've got the same both sides. So we're going to go for hello here, and I'll run it. And in the style of every computer scientist ever, you've now output some simple text onto the screen. If you wanted to have a few statements on there, 1, 2, or 3, you could put a few more below. You see I'm putting this one in double quotes rather than single quotes. Doesn't make a difference as far as Python's concerned. And as it runs this, it will print each statement on a new line. So output information is quite straightforward. There is a bunch of other things you can do to really style that up and change the way it works. One of the obvious ones that's really useful is changing the default way that it ends a print statement. So by default, a print statement will put a new line between each bit of text, as we've done here. Doesn't have to be that case though. If I go into any of my print statements, I can use the comma inside the brackets to add several arguments. Now what repl.it does here, you'll see when you start typing something in the code, is it does suggest things that you can do. And down here on this line is what we're going to look at. This end command tells us how we can end a print statement. So we are going to end it with a /t. Now the default is /n, which is new line, the same as pressing return or enter on your computer. /t is tab, the tab key on your keyboard. So let's see what that does differently. This is me being a muppet. We've got the wrong slash on. It's a backslash. We run it again, and there you go. You've got a tab space between it. I could leave that completely blank if I wanted to, and have nothing appearing between them. I'm going to leave it as a /t, and you'll see the /t as it is a special type of character, is highlighted in pink there, and run it. Now one of the nice things repl.it does, of course, is it matches your brackets. If you click on your bracket, it'll highlight the matching brackets. You can see what you're working in, and any print statement needs to go in there. Well, that's output. How do we do input? Let's have a quick look how we do input. If I get rid of these, input is just this. Nice and simple. Now in the brackets we have the message that we're going to give to the users. So I'm going to say, please type your name. Now I'm going to put a colon and leave a space at the end of that. Notice that's inside the speech marks, because when I run it, I want my typing to start slightly over, otherwise it would be glued right up there. So I'm going to put my name in there. And there we go, I've given my name to the computer. I haven't actually done anything with it though, or even saved it anyway. One of the first things we need to do is learn how to save data from input so we can use it. And the way we do that is with a thing called a variable. Now a variable is just a space in the computer's memory that we give a name to that we can put information in. It's a bit like a box. We put something in the box has a name, and we can pull the information out. The way we do that in code is simple. Before the input, we assign it to something. So I'm going to call it my name and use a single equals, and what that does is it sets this variable to this value, and this value is going to be whatever the person types in. I can go one step further though. I can print out my name, and you'll see there are no speech marks over it, so what I'm doing is printing out the contents of the variable, or the contents of the box instead, and pulling that out for the user. So if I do that, and I say my name's David, well, it works perfectly. The only real problem we've got at the moment is that the computer's literally copying us. If I run it and I type in your mum, for instance, then it's going to be very rude to me the other side. Let's put it in a sentence. So with our print statements, with our outputs, we can add things to whatever's in the brackets with commas. This is called concatenation. So I'm going to do hello, a comma, my name, comma, how are you? Now what should happen here is it should create a full sentence for me. Let's try it. Oh, there we go, very nice. The computer's being very nice to me and asking how I am. Now the way that works, of course, if we look in the code, is very, very straightforward. We're taking that string, hello, string is the technical term for text, and we are concatenating or gluing it with the comma to this variable. Then we're gluing that variable to this bit of text. And it all comes together as one big chunk. Once again though, the computer is literally just repeating what we're doing. So it's not the most sensible thing to do. One other thing you need to be wary of is that variable names shouldn't be reused if possible. We don't want to be deleting the contents of one to put something else in there. But also, you've got to remember that we can't use a space in a variable name, which means you need to be careful about how you write down a variable name because it can get very long and very confusing if you're trying to be descriptive about them. So that's very simple input and output. Let's go a step further and let's see if maybe we could put the name into a file. Now, there's a very, very good tutorial on repl.it, which we'll have a look at in a minute. But if you've used the Classrooms team feature, you'll see it in there, but also in the curriculum feature, authored by me. And it is a complete guide to Python for the GCSE Computer Science NEA in the UK. What that means is it's up to a level where, say, a 16-year-old would be programming a comprehensive command line based piece of software using all these features. We'll have a look at it in a moment. So, output into a file is a little bit different. There are 3 steps. First step is you open the file. So we do f equals open. We need the file name, so I'm going to call it names.txt. It could be dot anything. It's got a second argument in the brackets, and that's the mode. Since we're opening the file to write to it, I'm going to open it in W mode. And that means I'm going to save the name into the file. Our next line, we need to write it, so we do f.write. Now f.write is the equivalent of print, but instead of coming on the screen, it goes into this file, and I'm going to print my name into the file. Then I'm going to do f.close with the brackets. And what f.close is that's the bit that writes the changes to the actual file. This opens the file up in memory. This adds the text to the file in memory, and this saves the file back to the file system. So to show you what's happening here, I'm going to open the files menu. I'm going to run it. I'm going to put my name in. You'll notice here on the left-hand side, we have a new file called names.txt, which has just popped up. And in there is my name. Let's run it again and see how that changes. Now, when I ran it the second time, you notice it completely deleted what was in there and replaced it with a new name. The reason for that is the mode I've opened it up in. W for write means that it deletes the contents of whatever was in the file before. A different method would be A for append. That means it adds it to the end. So let's try that again. And it has added it to the end, but not in a very useful way. It's just glued the text together. So what we might have to do is add to that a/n, that is the new line character. And we're using a plus here because unfortunately the comma doesn't work when we're doing f.write, so we have to use a plus instead. So I'm going to try that again, and I'm going to do Eric. And if we have a quick look, we've got Eric and we've got a new line. And if I run it again and I put in Penelope, now everything's appearing on a new line. Even your mum will pop on a new line. So we've got a good working system there now. If we want to load it back up, it's pretty much the same code. Loading the file up would be straightforward. We open it up in R mode for read, and instead of f.write, we can do f.read. Now, of course, f.read needs to go somewhere, so I'm going to call it list of names. Once I've closed it, I'm going to print out the list of names. Let's see that work. So Tony goes in. You notice it says hello Tony. Now it literally prints out the list of names as they appear in our text file. This is a really, really powerful way of input and output because now in this 10-minute video we've done a couple of things. We've got simple input that goes into the computer's memory. The problem with variables, of course, is when the computer gets turned off or the REPL gets stopped, that disappears. we've got a way of permanently saving that information, and we've got a way of loading it back up from memory each time we run the REPL. So we've got short-term and long-term storage here in an input and output way. Now, if you want to find out more about using file saving, the nicest thing to do would be to jump to the curriculum tab on repl.it, go to Python for GCSE, and have a look at this beautiful activity I've created for you on autosave and autoload. This is a fantastic way of understanding how to automatically save chunks of data to a computer and load it back up the same way you'd have in a video game. Thank you very much for watching my video, and I hope that it's been quite informative.
That's it for this video. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe to get more computer science content.